Howdy everyone, my name is Avram Plager and welcome back to my Fusion 360 tutorials for CAD design. So I do apologize for the recent decline in number of videos that I've been posting. The power outages in Texas did hit my home, but with that I have a lot of good tutorials lined up that did give me some time to plan out how I'm going to post some videos. I've taught most of the basic skills that you'll be needing in Fusion 360, at least in my past videos. If you're new to this channel, I would recommend that you do go back and watch most, if not all, of my Fusion 360 videos and some of the Blender and Tinkercad videos as well. In today's video, we'll be looking at how to make a working hinge in Fusion 360. This is all in Fusion 360. You can use applications like Blender to smooth out some of the rough edges and make it a little bit more aesthetically pleasing, but the basic functionality will be designed in Fusion 360. We may come back to this design in a future tutorial and look at finishing it up, but I'll start with the tutorial now. So to begin, you'll start by creating a box, and we'll do this on the XZ plane. And we'll make this box, we'll zoom in, and we'll make it 2 millimeters by 25 millimeters. And then we'll make the box 50 millimeters tall. And then we'll say new component. And we'll say OK. Now I'll rename this to comp1, and we'll say OK. And then we can start making the circular part of the hinge. If you're familiar with just any normal door hinge, they have 3 tabs on one side and 2 tabs on the other. So to make those tabs, we'll click on this face here, and we'll make a sketch. I'll just be using basic sketches in this tutorial, but I would recommend for any future tutorials that you do go and watch my advanced tutorials video, my advanced sketches tutorials video. But this one should not incorporate too many advanced sketches. So we'll zoom in until we have a few more boxes to work with, and then we'll make a center diameter circle. We want the center diameter circle to be about 3 millimeters. Then we'll say OK. And now we can finish the sketch. You see I have the outside corner and the center of our circle lined up. And then we'll take this, and we have our edge here that's 50 millimeters. So we want all of our circles to be we want all of our cylinders, the tabs, to be 10 millimeters in length. Because you have 3 tabs on one side, 2 tabs on the other, which makes a total of 5 tabs. So you're going to take the length of the edge on which you have your tabs, divide that by 5. Since we have a 50 millimeter length, that means we just have to do each one 10 millimeters long. So we'll take this and we'll go up to our extrude hotkey, and we'll extrude this down 10 millimeters. And now we'll set this to join, and we'll say OK. Now what we need to do is we need to take this, and we need to set 3 pins down. Instead of creating 3 new pins, all we need to do is take this one and create a rectangular pattern, setting it down. Alright, sorry about the cut. My recording equipment stopped for a second, but we can continue with the tutorial now. So before we continue, like I said, we do need to create a rectangular pattern of this pin down the edge here. And then what we need to do that is first we need to split this face into 2. One is going to be the rectangle here, and the other is going to be the circle here. So to do that, what we need to do is we need to click this face, and we'll create a sketch. For the sketch, all we need to do is we need to create a 3-point arc, and we'll set it to be on our 2 corners here. So this corner, and click here. And then what you're going to do is you're going to set this center point here to line up with the center of our circle here. So we'll press escape, to get out our sketch tool there. Then we'll take this piece and we'll move it into the center there. Now I can say finish sketch. If you want to learn more about what I just did, I'll link my video on advanced sketches in the description. But for now, what we need to do is we need to go into our Modify tab, and we'll say Split Face. So the face that we want to split is one, and the splitting tool that we'll use is this one. You don't need to change anything else. We'll say OK. Now you can see we have two faces. This one here, and this one here. So now what we'll do is we'll go ahead and we'll select three faces that we need, which is this face, the body of the cylinder, and the bottom face up here. And now what we'll do is we'll go to our Create tab, and we'll go to Pattern, and we'll say Rectangular Pattern. Once that dialog box opens up, we have the three faces that we want selected, and the direction we'll have it on is here. Now what you need to do is you need to extend it all the way along this edge here. Make sure it's set to 40 millimeters, because you have a 50 millimeter line that was preoccupied by your 10 millimeter shaft here. So all you're going to have left is 40 millimeters. So make sure when you're extending this that you take the length that you have it on, subtract it by the initial pin, and then extend it by that length. You don't need to change anything else, but make sure your quantity is set to 3, because we want 3 pins here. We want 1, 2, and then 3 pins. So now we'll say OK. Quick and easy, we have our 3 pins set up. Now we need to do the same thing that we did on the top face, bottom face here. So we'll take this face and we'll say Create Sketch. And we'll zoom in so that we can better see this. We'll switch to our bottom view to make that orthographic. Put it out under 3-point arc. We'll again select our 2 corners. Go out. Press Escape to exit out of the sketch tool. And then move this until it's concentric with our circle. You'll see it's concentric when that blue circle pops up. And then we can say Finish Sketch. Now we need to say Modify. Go to the face. The face to split is this bottom face here. And our splitting tool is again our arc. And now we can say OK. We have the bottom face and the top face split into 2. Now we'll make the other portion of our pins. So what we need to do is, instead of making an entirely new face or body, what we'll do is we'll create a component. And we'll name this comp 2. I like to get shorter names for components because it allows me to identify them easier. And make sure this is crucial, that your parent is always set to your workspace. If you are making components within components, then the parent is set to that specific component. But if you're making new components, it will automatically set it to whatever component is active. So make sure you do press this X mark and just select the workspace, and it'll say parent 1 selected, and that'll be your workspace. That's it. And just give your base by highlighting here and just clicking that circle there. If active components, for example, if I only activate comp 2, I'll come and edit to make comp 2 won't activate on comp 1. But we want our entire workspace to be active. So now what we need to do is we need to select one by clicking on it. We're going to our bodies here in comp 1 and selecting body 1. Now mirror it along the Y plane. So select mirror. For our object selected, everything is going to be on our YZ plane. And then say new, and I'll say OK. I apologize, the recording equipment cut out again, but from now, once you've mirrored that and moved the secondary object to your comp 2, and then moved the object out slightly so they have some room to work with it, what you're going to do is you're going to select the 3 faces that compose the top pin. And you're going to say delete on your keyboard to delete those faces. Then you're going to open up the move/copy command from your modify hotkeys. And instead of bodies, we'll select faces. So what I mean to do is we need to select all the faces that we want to move. Which are going to be the 2 pins. So just go around and select all 3 faces of both pins, which is going to be a total of 6 selected. So make sure that when you're doing this, you have 6 selected in your selection toolbar. And then move these up 10 millimeters. And make sure that when you're doing this, that you do pay attention to some warnings that may pop up, which are slightly disheartening when you're doing this procedure. The Fusion 360 is going through some updates, so there are some things that I'm used to that are changing, but it's fine for now. All we need to do is we'll use a slightly different tactic, and we'll delete the bottom pin as well. And then we'll open up our move/copy command again, go back down to faces, and then move this face as well. And now this works, so now that we have that, we'll say OK. Then we'll select those faces again. I'll say Control C and Control V, and that should make a copy of them. However, if that doesn't, we can say move/copy. And we do see that this doesn't allow us a copy feature, so we do need to create another rectangular pattern. So we'll select the 3 faces here. We'll go to our rectangular pattern hotkey. Make sure if you move something that you do capture the position. I'll say we want 2 and our quantity toolbar. We'll select this direction, and then we'll move it down 20 millimeters. Make sure you go to your front face and you analyze that this is specifically how you want it to be, and then we'll say OK. And now we have our components exactly as we want them. We can go to our back view and analyze that these are aligned perfectly. We see those are on a vertical axis, those are on a vertical axis, these are on a vertical axis, and these are on a vertical axis, which is exactly what we want. So now what we need to do is we need to move these bodies until the pins themselves are aligned. So what we'll do is we'll move /copy, and we'll say bodies instead of faces. We'll select this body and we'll move it until the pins are aligned with the other pins. So we see we do need to make some other changes here. You can make precise changes. So make some changes in here until the pins are aligned. And if they don't align, that is perfectly fine. All you need to do is we can say cancel. And then we'll just use a hole command to make a hole through both of these. So we'll select hole. The face slash sketch points that we want is this face here. You'll see it creates this key here. Move that until it snaps to the center. And then change the length until it's all the way through all of your pins. Make sure the diameter is set to 1.5 millimeters. And then say OK. Now do the same for the other one. So select this face, make a hole on it, then snap that to the center. Make sure again this is set to 1.5 millimeters. And then set the length until it's all the way through both of your pins. And then you can say OK. So now we need to make the actual pin that goes through all of the pins on our two bodies here. So what we need to do is we see the hole in our pins is made at 1.5 millimeters diameter. So what we'll do is we'll make a cylinder on this axis here. And then set the diameter to 1.5. Say enter. And then take this key down until it's flush with both sides, which means it'll be 50 millimeters in length. And then give this about 3 more millimeters. And say new component. And then you can say OK. Now rename this to comp3. And now what we need to do is we need to make a sketch that'll protrude down 3 millimeters and make this as a cap so that this doesn't slide all the way through. So what we need to do is we need to take this, click the top face, and say create sketch. Then create a center diameter circle that is on there and set it to 2.5 millimeters. And then say enter and finish sketch. Now take this and extrude it downwards 3 millimeters. And like I showed in one of my previous tutorials, I believe it was the ribs, webs, and emboss/deboss tutorial, you can use thin extrude. However, for this I would just use regular extrude. But if you're looking for a little bit of aesthetic, you could use thin extrude. So just set this down 3 millimeters. Say OK. And then round off the top of your pin by selecting that circular edge there, saying fillet, and then shrinking that down to 0.75 is good for that, and saying OK. Now what you want to do is you want to go to the base of your cylinder here, and you want to create a hole and create some threading. So what we'll do is we'll select this face, and we'll create a hole on it. We want the hole to be 1 millimeter in diameter, and we only want the hole to go about 10 millimeters in, about 7 millimeters in length. And that gives us a good bit if we want to put a screw in this to fix it to our 2 pins there. So now, again, just select the center there, center it on our thing there, and then you do want this, you want to select a certain drill point. You want to select it to angle. The hole tap type is just to tapped. And we want an isometric thread profile, 1 millimeter, and click modeled. And now what this is doing is, in one step, we've created both a hole and threads for a 1 millimeter screw. So we want this to be M1 by 0.25. Set this to right hand and 6H. Don't change anything else. And then say OK. And now you can see, if you look at your the base of our hole that we've made, it's automatically threaded to fit a 1 millimeter screw. I'll go back to our home view so you can see this in a little bit better detail. So now you can see we have some threading in there. That's for a 1 by 0.25 screw. So all you need to do if you do print this out is get yourself from Home Depot or something like that, get an 0.25, get a 1 by 0.25 screw and a washer. Thread this pin all the way through both of those pins, both sides of these. Then put a washer and a 1 by 0.25 screw through the bottom, and then this will be assembled hinge. If you want to attach this to something, you can put holes, countersunk holes, whatever you want through the edges here. For example, if we did want to create some fixtures, we just select this face here and create a hole in it that's at the corner there. And we want the hole to be countersunk, and the drill point doesn't really matter for this. But you do want to zoom in so that you're seeing what you're doing. And set the hole to just simple hole. And say OK. And now you can see if we create the hole there, it's a countersunk hole. That way, if you want to put a screw in to affix this to a door, you can do that. But with that, that's the end of this tutorial. Very quick and simple. You can make a working hinge in Fusion 360 that is quick to assemble. You can even 3D print this. However, if you do 3D print it, I would make sure that you have a lot of clearance on those joints. But other than that, a big thank you to watching my videos. As of this video, I'm over 60 subscribers, which is just astronomical from my point of view. I really never expected this channel